Larry, Grandpa Larry.
What's up, Mack? So you got that profile fixed. I was like, he's talking, looking to the side. We got to get that full front, get that power behind that voice. And Sean, what is that on your head?
Hey, you about to talk about the Israelites?
Oh, okay, never mind. I'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
Brother Leary, are we recording?
We are now.
Okay, perfect. All right, so welcome to the second half segment of the Wednesday night discussion here at the Brotherhood section. Welcoming all our brothers, Brother Mack, Brother Marshawn, Brother Lance, Brother Geary, Brother Larry. I don't know if Brother Roger is going to be back on, but we'll get started. He may tap in momentarily. The second half, first half segment, we tackled a lot of the Black church and existence in today's modern times. Now we're going to go into something a little bit much more deeper. We're going to be discussing the Black Hebrew Israelite Movement. As we all know, the Black Hebrew Israelite Movement is even well and very active. A lot of people have mixed feelings and emotions about it. I want to open this segment up with Brother Geary. Brother Geary, with the Black Hebrew Israelite Movement, do you feel it's a legitimate? Do you think it's a legitimate movement? A lot of people do feel like African Americans are the biblical Jews. Some do, some don't. Some are opposed to the fact that the Jews in Israel are actually the Khazars or imposters. Let's open this segment up with Brother Geary and your thoughts about the Black Hebrew Israelite Movement.
My thoughts. I mean, I understand where they're coming from.
Right.
Their main doctrine is coming from the whole Ham, Shem, and Japheth, that line of Noah, as well as Deuteronomy 28, that leads to them identifying themselves as the Jews or the true Jews.
Right.
I've heard a couple of them over what, about a year and a half to maybe 2 years now. What they're saying sounds good, but it doesn't line up once you start doing the actual research. But yeah, they're wrong. But this is how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the brothers that they have within the fold, I believe, you know, just like anybody else, if you're not doing right, they potentially will be doing something wrong. Do I think they benefit the community and what they occupy, that they teach? A lot of, yeah, such like the Nation of Islam. It's keeping a lot of, we can't deny the Nation of Islam as well as the Hebrew Israelites. They have kept a lot of brothers out of jail, taking care of their families. You know, even though it is what they're choosing to worship is not leading them to salvation, it at least is putting the man back in his rightful place within the home and in the home and being a productive citizen of in this world. Spiritually speaking, they're off the grid. But as far as taking care of their family, I can't argue with those results. I can't argue with those results. And I'll leave that like that.
I hear you. So this is an open forum. Brothers chime in. The second forum with no specific questions directed at a particular brother. Chime in.
Go ahead, Sean. You ready?
Homage.
Nobody.
This is my homage to my brothers in purple velvet that stand on the corners. I have no idea what they talk about because they yell. They yell. I don't got no time for it, man. I have no time for a brother yelling on the corner because I be passing. You know, I'm driving, and I don't know what they talking about. All I do know is I know they say about 200 years, right? And everything is supposed to be ours. I think the 200 years was 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That was the one that was supposed to take. That's when it was supposed to take root. So no, actually, it was because it was 1619. It was supposed to be 2019, and then the shift was supposed to take place.
Well, obviously they was wrong.
Wait a minute. You kind of might want to think you're right. I mean, look at the atmosphere of today's society. If you say anything anti-black, that's your job. You know what I mean? Look at a basketball court. Now we know it's pandering, but realistically, look at a basketball court. Black Lives Matter, this, black that.
But it's what you just said. That's pandering. That ain't changed. That ain't a shift in the power dynamic. That's pandering.
But here it is. When saying something anti-black can cost you your job, that's power.
That's temporary.
A white man.
It's hot.
I mean, a white man can't stand up and say his feelings about, a black person. You have to. They made a law that says that you have to have a person of color. You even have to have a black person in your. A lot of companies have to have like a person of color or, a black person as part of their board members. And you got to admit that's power to the likes we haven't seen ever in this country.
But it's temporary. That's my fear, that it's a temporary solution. It's a temporary it's an attempt to pacify and appease an outraged people. You're on mute, Mack. But it's to pacify and appease and outraged people in a very temporal climate that unfortunately passes. I think it's great that they want a black person on their board of directors. I think it's wonderful that everybody's looking to hire a diversity and inclusion person. However, when you look at the reality of the situation, you go beyond the headlines and the optics. Power is still in the seat where power was. It didn't change. It didn't change hands, and it's not anytime soon.
And the fact that it was able to happen like literally almost overnight, and for them to be like, "Oh, you got to do all this," and they said, "Okay."
Yeah.
I mean, like that in itself is to me is like, so you could have. It's not like they internally within themselves wanted to make this change and wanted to, they actually felt different about black people. It was just like, oh, well, to stay compliant, this is what we have to do. Okay, just do it. Just.
I have a question. What makes them, how do they know that they're black?
Who?
The Black Israelites.
Because they go through the whole. So basically what they are saying is it's just like the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You had Noah and his 3 sons.
Yeah.
Originally, you had Japheth, which is the originator of the Mongolian people or the Chinese Asian people. Then you had originally, if you read it before the switch, when Ham did what he did to Noah, it was Japheth, Ham, and then Shem.
Yeah.
They flipped it. And so they flipped it on the 3rd recording of his 3 sons. So they said, well, we don't break up Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's never Isaac, Abraham, and then Jacob. We always boom, boom, boom. Grandfather, son, and then son. They said, okay, this is what these quote unquote Caucasians did. They flipped them. So they had Ham doing what he was doing to Abraham, but it was really Shem that was doing it. And then once they unfolded the map, and then they started to look at the lineage of the sons of each one. So you got
the migration pattern.
You got the migration pattern of this son here, this son did this son did this, and you got Gog and Magog. That's supposed to be China and Russia. That's Japheth's line. And then you got Ham, and that goes to
the north, to Europe.
Yeah, it went to the north, and then you have Ashkenaz, which is if the Jews that are over in the land now, they're the Ashkenazi Jews, which happens to be one of the sons of that. And then you have Ham, which is the father of all the black nations. And so when you look up that map and see where they all went to Moab. So that's where you get Ruth, you get Canaan, you get the Canaanites. So basically, where the Jews were the Jews in biblical times, those are all black nations based on the Ham's line. So those are all black nations. So if Ham is the progenitor or the father of the black nations, then
No, you just had some juice.
Then
like you just had some juice.
that the children of Israel
Like,
were fighting
yeah,
the
I
black
know.
nations.
Go put that cup back.
They're fighting
And
those
go lay down.
sons.
You just had some juice.
And that's how they spin it out of that. And then they move from there. They move on to.
I can't hear you. I'm on the call. I can't hear you. Come here.
And so when they talked about Deuteronomy 28,
She sleep.
You should still read it. And then
That's why she wasn't at prayer. She sleep.
If you don't do all of these things, then the next time I will send you to another Egypt. And so, like the Jews went to the first Egypt, which was in Egypt. Well, America didn't exist that time. So they identify Egypt with another enslavement, another captivity. So since they couldn't say America, they just said another Egypt or another enslavement. They said, but this time you'll be taken there in ships. The Jews that are in there today were never taken, although they had their issue in Germany. They were never taken away in ships. And so black folks were taken in ships. So they say they fit the description of those original Jews because one, they occupied that land, and then two, we're the only people that were taken away in ships, taken to another Egypt, which happens to be America, where would be our another enslavement. And how many years were the children of Israel enslaved in Egypt? 400 years. How many years were we enslaved in our new Egypt? 400 years. And so that's how they tie it together. And it sounds real good. It sounds real good to them, so they buy into it. It's a bunch of stuff you can pull out of it, and it does sound good, but it has no spiritual benefit because it's still. But it's deep. It gets deep, man. We could do several classes on it, although we probably get in trouble. But but yeah, I mean it sounds real good when they put it together. But then they also have the issue where they are including a bunch of other folks who didn't want a part of the slave trade. You have so basically they got a map of, not a map, but a chart of the 12 tribes, the original 12 tribes of Israel, and it also includes those in Trinidad and Tobago, those in Dominican Republic, as well as in Haiti, South America, up in Mexico, and as well as the Indians, the Puerto Ricans. But it's not those Spaniard versions of those Puerto Ricans.
So they got the life lock going on, huh?
Right. So they mapped it out well. They've taken their time to map it out well. But this is nothing but a spinoff from Dr. York up in New York, and his little twist from Islam to this whole little thing. So you can trace it back. I'm kind of talking. Somebody else talk.
I just find those guys to be, very interesting, mainly because they just put the whole color line in religion, which for me that was a turnoff for me when we talk about the Black Israelites. For them to have that great divide that they have lets me know that that's not love. So
and my look, when I look at that stuff, I listen to them, and I don't know as much as Gary knows about that, and I think that's really interesting how they put it together. And I can see it would sound attractive, and it does. My father used to say, that sounds rational, that sounds reasonable, but it's wrong. But I look at geography and history and genealogy, right? So you have if you lay a map of geography and look at the map of the world, then you put genealogy and see where peoples came from, the origin of certain groups of people. And then you put history on top of that. You can start seeing one thing. I am my personal firm conviction and belief is there were no white people in the Bible. There's just no white people in the Bible. So when people get all caught up with the Bible is the white man religion, there are no white people in the Bible, period. There's none. Now there are people of color, and it specifically mentioned people from Nubia, which would be a darker skinned person, sub-Saharan African. It doesn't say Jesus out of Bethlehem. Well, we know it was in the region of Eastern Africa around that Indian Ocean. There was a bright sun, so he had some complexion. Everybody in the Bible had melanin to some degree. The children of Ham, his descendant Cush, all that we know, history says that these were the people in sub-Saharan Africa, the nation of Cush. Okay, cool. But that has nothing to do with when you got to separate that from Abraham. Did Abraham come? He came from out of that Middle Eastern region with his dad and all that, Canaan and all that. But that just means they had color. That don't mean it was us. We are a unique people. I'm here to say it. We African Americans are a unique and have never existed no other time in history because we are not pure African. We are not pure African. I am Irish. I'm like probably over 25, almost 50% Irish. My mother was 50%. I'm 25% Irish. So that's Europe. And my grandfathers and stuff like that, they're from Haiti, which is African and Indian. So you mix all this stuff up, there's a whole bunch of us with a whole bunch of stuff in us. We never existed anywhere else in time. So to say we may have descended, we could have descended from Cush, we could have descended from Abraham. But when in terms of salvation and knowing God and having God as our God, it doesn't hold water with me. It doesn't matter because we essentially as African Americans or African descendants of slaves are kind of a mixed bag of some of everything. And I'm pretty sure the brothers are too. And if they did a 23andMe, they might find out, yeah, you may have some genes in the Middle East, but you might find, like you said, you got some coming out of Mongolia. Some brothers got tight eyes, you know?
Right.
Hold on now. You know, tight eyes came from Africa too now. Hold on now.
And not, some got tight eyes naturally, not just because they got lifted. You know?
Brother Lance, you've been pretty quiet this segment, Brother Lance. What are your thoughts on everything the Black Hebrew Israelite?
You know, I don't know a whole lot about it. That's why I'm being quiet. It's been something that I would almost have been closed off to, even when I do hear it and have had kind of a curiosity. I've just kind of steered clear of it. And I don't know that that's a good thing or
that's a good thing.
But that's the truth.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I hear.
That's a good thing, Brother Lance, because those guys are idiots.
So my brother is a Hebrew Israelite, right? He ain't no idiot though.
I'm not saying he's an idiot.
I know. Let me finish. So he's young and like I know he's trying to find his spiritual identity. And so me personally, I have to keep going back to that because that's what it boils down to. You know, when you sit back and think of other so-called people, whatever they want to, whether it's a nationality they want to attach themselves to, or whether it's a religion they want to attach themselves to, or whether it's a geographic location, right? But when it comes to us, like Larry said, you know, we just now stepped on the scene, as you know, the whole term, the African American identity, right? And it's this new thing. But I think that because of our color, because of the melanin, because of, you know, all of the connections, knowing that, you know, the Bible is speaking of people of color, I think, and it not being, what you say, forthright information given to us and passed down to us, as far as if this is spiritual information and, you know, and it's applicable to our lives, or, you know, whatever, we was considered as not even human beings. And from that, like, we weren't even considered basic human rights, you know, and trying to find ourselves in reading and losing our languages and all that type of stuff. That's where we are now. We in the same melting pot as a lot of the Latinos were trying to find their identity after the second religious conversion that they went through with the Europeans and the Spaniards coming through over there. But so now it's the melting pot. We're that, you know what I'm saying? But our face is the identity and the evidence of the history of who we are. We just try our hardest to, like, with those groups, including the Hebrew Israelites, and I'll be trying to tell them, I'll be trying to, like, when my brother be posting little stuff, you could tell he's trying to find himself. And I can't knock that, because at least it's some direction that God has given him back towards himself, right? I can't knock the angle, because God can, you know, use a fool, a donkey, or ass to speak to somebody still to this day if he chooses to. And however he chooses to get the message to, and at whatever point in age, whether it's they 70 years old and they finally, get to where they should be considered as saved or sanctified, then that's what it's going to take. But I just commend the effort, because I could see if they was on some, we ain't listening to none of that. We on some, this black religion is this cripping. I could see if they was on that, but they on some, there's still the God of Abraham still is involved. So either way, some type of seed has been planted for them to find their way back.
That's a good point.
So I just can't knock it. Like I see him. It ain't me. I look at it like this. God is the clock, right? He's the center of the clock, and all these different belief systems are like 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock, but they all point back to God, whether they like it or not. The same God, right? It just so happened that the 12 o'clock, the right one is Jesus. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just what it is. And when they, hopefully, we continue in prayer for them, to them finding their way back. But that's what we have to do. Pray without ceasing.
Makes sense.
Well said, Raj.
I couldn't. I would have to be an Israelite in the winter.
What did he say?
For your beard.
No, I can't wear the purple velvet in the summertime. It's too hot.
What is that, velvet?
I can wear purple velvet.
I know you can wear purple velvet.
Yeah, I know.
And that goes back to when we were talking earlier about how you present stuff to people and what's palatable. Like the Nation of Islam, clean brothers up and have them cut their hair, shape, and look good and respectable. And no matter how pro-black or however, whatever we are, we like, okay, the brother looks clean, he looks decent. We have that mindset of what looks respectable. These guys stand out there with super long beards and hot purple drapes on. It's like, come on, dude, stop. Go hang your mama's curtain up. You got the couch cover and the curtains all on you, hanging out here. You got the curtain tie wrapped around your waist.
But then there's no difference.
Sackcloth and ashes.
Say, ain't nobody feeling that. What miss me with that? And that's why we drive right by. Because it's like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm not foolery. I can't do that.
But then that's just like the person who the Christian who's on the corner with the speaker yelling, preaching.
They're yelling at you.
Right.
You like miss me with that. You yelling at me. Even if what you're saying may have merit, and you could be speaking to dude, if you coming at people the wrong way, even in what we do, what we as Christian men, as God-fearing Jesus followers do, if we come at people the wrong way, even with the truth, miss me with that. I'm not feeling you. If we out there judging people, if I came to you and we had a pastor that said right now, all of us got to shave off our facial hair. Why? Because X, Y, and Z. Or all of you must have beards because you're all men in this church. Therefore you must wear a beard, because in Jesus' day it was a shame, and you could find stuff in the Bible to manipulate people's thinking. It was a shame when David's men had their beards shaved off. That was considered shameful. So if you had a man standing in the pulpit and say, "Don't you dare shave yourself. Don't you know how shameful that is?" We'd be like, okay, let me hold up for a minute. You mean I can't shave? But if my beard is itching, my bumps are getting to me, I have to shave. I have to shave to go to work to get this check. You tell me I'm not saved if I don't shave? Now, whatever, you can find something in the Bible and flip it any way you can to mind control somebody. So if you had a man one way or the other, you'd be like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. How you coming at me? You taking away my right to decide whether I want facial hair or not. What's that about? Gerald, you were about to say something, then you froze.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. So this leads me to my next question. And speaking of culture, so a lot of the towards the Eastern. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So a lot of the Black Hebrew Israelites in Nation of Islam tend to lead to an Eastern type culture in which the man don't speak, women don't preach, women, but there's a discipline there that you have to admit. The men are disciplined and the women are disciplined. Do you think this type of model should be more prevalent, even, in just general Black communities? Because you got to admit the discipline with the women, the children, the men.
I think we need to have order in everything that we do, right? We read the Bible because we're looking for instruction, right? Teaching. So I think that's a given. I mean, every religion has some type of order, and I think that's a given. That's an easy one.
Yeah, our belief has a form of that, and when we discuss the alignment of the household, right?
Yeah.
God, the husband, the wife, the children. That's alignment. That's an order, and it does, on the face of it, it presents the man as the dominant force in the house. But our religion and what we believe in our faith suggests that our position does not give us the right to dominate our wives and children, but to cover them, which is completely different than domination, right? But when you have a religious order that is about domination and subjugation, that's not what we believe. We're not about dominating and subjugating our women. We're about covering, protecting, loving, sacrificing for them.
Right.
But it's still an order. But it does puts us in a position of power and somewhat of authority in our house, because our women are told to yield and submit to us. But our submission is to God, and we're going to do what God says, which is always looking out for his loved ones, which is not dominating.
Okay, so Brother Leary, let me throw this question at you. The Bible does say that women maybe they shouldn't even preach in a church. Do you think, we should continue on with that type of mandate, as even the Bible says? Do you think that's a healthy thing?
The Bible says what? Wait, say you're breaking up. I couldn't hear the question.
What the Bible says about women not speaking in the church?
Or being preached, or
that they should keep silent in the church.
Where's that?
I don't know what that is. But look, let me say this real quick. I didn't want to lose my train of thought with the last question, but now I'm thinking about going where you are now, and I'm just immediately thinking about how we're talking about these different beliefs, and I'm going back to Abraham, going back to Sarah, and I'm going back to the marriage being one of the, if not the initial structure that God set up as one of the representations of how he wanted it to be, right? In that relationship, in that scenario, even though his wife was, probably there was some level of I don't even want to say submission. I want to say respect, like she respected her husband. And there was a level of, it wasn't him over her, you know what I'm saying? And where she had a situation going on with her maiden. And when the time came in dealing with that issue, the husband, who is obviously the overall caretaker, as told the supervisor, I'm the CEO, you're the supervisor. Take care of that. That's on you. So that's something to think about as far as where it's trying to be thrown out. I think that was through the ages, men and the sickness of men, like on some, I want to dominate woman because I physically see that she is not as powerful as I can be. When women grow, they are not as strong and powerful as men physically. So culturally, if men are already doing it, growing up, they're teaching their children to treat their women in this way. So I think culturally, and beyond just one particular religious belief, culturally, as a human society, we kind of got into this space to where, a survival of the fittest, like knowing that we need women to procreate, but still, in fact, they're kind of here for our pleasure and like they're like a sub creature, And I think as mankind, we got away from, their creation was for God to be worshipped as well. It wasn't just for, it was just definitely for us. We were alone as a man alone, but it wasn't just like she's our pet. You know what I mean? And the belief system that subjugate their women to that type of stuff, it's wrong over there, and it's wrong. It was wrong over here in the system. But you got to think about how everything was set, like how their systems were set up. It was fault in their systems. You know what I'm saying? Like them, how they came over here in what is it, 20s and 30s, and the women were you're supposed to be in the house, and the man gonna go out to, you know. But women had gold, like they had things they wanted to do then back, you know. So I think, man, it's just a whole lot of like ourselves being in the way versus like really like letting God, like listening for God's voice and the humility that comes with that. In this belief, yeah, you can say it's passive to subjugate yourself of dying daily. That's the problem. The other beliefs, it ain't no dying daily. I'm here. I want you to know I'm here. I'm gonna scream it to the top of the world. I'm here. Versus I'm insignificant. Like it's all about God. You know, and so in those systems where even the man is in a position, even with, you know, Christian beliefs, where, you know, a woman can't be in such a position. Come on, man. Come on. That's I don't know.
That text is in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 33 and 34, where they say that women should remain silent in church. So they use that. They don't exclude the New Testament. They also include that. So that's why they get that doctrine of that women should be quiet. But they lean on 4 situations within the Bible. One where Adam and Eve, where in that particular situation where she was eating the fruit, she should have been dominated. That's what they feel. She should have been restrained from eating instead of kind of however they felt. And then also they used the Job situation where the woman told him to curse God and die, where she felt that she was obligated to give him direction. The third one they use is the one from Samson and Delilah, where he allowed his weaknesses, the weakness of himself, to his woman to come in and dominate him, find out his weaknesses, and basically break him down. And then the fourth one they use is the one of Solomon, where he had so many wives that worship so many different things. He became weak in his leadership to these women and these false gods, where he should have stood up for God and his ways, and they shouldn't even been a part of his harem. But since they were, then he should have influenced them to be children of God of Israel instead of the other way around. He ended up losing. So that's what they use as far as that's concerned. So that's why they promote that within their families, and that's how they subjugate people control their families.
What was the scripture?
Yeah, but
again?
even hearing those, I told him to put it in the chat. Even hearing those though, Mr. Gary, like it's like it still sounds like the fault of man. Like
it is.
You know what I'm saying? Like I get it, and the seductive and the cunning powers and abilities that the woman had, and those men kept falling victim, including it's like Adam blaming the woman. But it's like I get it. That's what they were trying to go use those off of. But it's like, come on, man.
Right.
I can't.
We have less than a minute. So we have less than a minute left on the Zoom. Well said, Brother Roger. We're going to conclude the Wednesday discussion here on the Brotherhood section. We'll be back at it again next Monday, 8 p.m. If you all are more than invited to join us then, we'll be uploading this to the YouTube channel. Any final thoughts before we sign off? All right, well, thank you, brothers. Thank you, Brother Mack, Brother Larry, Brother Geary, Brother Roger, Brother Marshawn. We'll be seeing you all Monday night. This is the Brotherhood section of Wednesday night discussion.
Peace.
Thank you guys for coming through. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy hanging out with you.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Peace, fellas.
Stimulating. Have a good night.
For sure.
All right, Larry, I'm coming to pick you up.